Hey, Sasha the Options Coach. In today's video, I want to share with you some red flags to finding an options coach. So if you're looking for an options coach, somebody that can actually help you, push you, move you forward, that's really what a coach will allow you to do. Really accelerates things a lot faster than you trying to do things on your own. Obviously, you could do this on your own. It just may take you a little bit longer. But I want to point out some things that you may want to kind of watch out for when it comes to finding an options coach, and some red flags, and also things that I've heard over the years as people are talking to me. Maybe they've done other coaching programs and then they come and chat with me, and then we go through our program, and it's quite a bit of a different experience. And just all the things that I've heard prior to them signing up, these are the things that have made me modify, change, and tweak my program to make sure that it's a good fit for them. So anyways, I'm going to start things out. I'll pinpoint some things for you, and that way you can be aware of some of these red flags and issues to watch out for as you're shopping around or looking for maybe an options coach yourself. All right, so one of the first things and issues that I see, at least the things that I've also heard from people, is the guaranteed profits or unreasonable profit potential that you keep hearing from a lot of other coaches and mentors. What they're always pushing is, this is how much you can make. It's guaranteed. Or, hey, if you put in only $500, I can show you how to make, $3,000 by next week. So anytime you start hearing and seeing these kinds of things, this guaranteed profits, or just really an unreasonable profit potential, then that's a huge red flag. If they're always pushing the profit, the amount you can make, what they're really trying to sell you on is the dream, the get rich quick, the hype of the money side, and not so much actually the education that you'll actually learn. You might not really learn that much. So be aware of that. The other red flag that I always see is instruction substitution. One of our experts will get back to you, or one of our other people. We've trained a lot of experts, and I typically see this with a lot of big firms. And unfortunately, I won't mention any names, but there's a lot of big firms that people I've worked with that have gone and paid for coaching in the thousands of dollars, and I'm talking $15,000, $25,000, $35,000, where they've gotten some coaching for a month for just paying those kinds of figures. And what happens is then there's instruction substitutions. So when you have an instructor and then somebody else, you call in and you have questions, and then it's a different person. Then again, it's a different person, and it's always a different person every time. And what you really end up doing is you're not building a relationship with the other person. You have to re-explain yourself. It's kind of like calling those hotlines when your dishwasher breaks, and then what you got to do is repeat the problem again and again. 6-8 times later, you might finally get your answer. So that's really a huge red flag. Be aware of that. For me personally, I like to work with somebody that's more like a close friend or a good relationship, like a neighbor. And that typically works really well. But I find that people tell me that if they go with like too big of a firm where there's always instructor substitutions, that's usually a problem. In my case, what I usually do is I just bump the rate. So for example, it might be, $150,000 to work with me for a year, in some cases, depending on my schedule. But at least then you're getting high quality attention. And there's people that, in the tech space that have $50 to $100 million that they're investing. They're okay to pay, a 6-figure consultation fee where we're working with them together one-on-one. But there's no instructor substitution. That's really the difference. I'd rather work with somebody, more detailed and actually have a deeper connection than try to grow in terms of quantity or number of students. Anyways, looking at number 3 here, is limited availability in a schedule. So I always try to leave some flexibility in a schedule personally to be able to hit different zones and spots. Also, just like going back to some of the bigger firms, what happens is like they're only open, let's say from 9 to 4. You can ask your question, or you can only ask your questions between 7 and 8 a.m. or something to that effect. So depending on the schedule, that's when they're available. In my case, look, if I'm available, I'll send a note back. If I'm not, if I'm chatting with somebody else, I'll get back to you when I can. But I leave some spots open. So even in the evening time, let's say when my kids are in bed, or I have availability, I might speak with you at 10 o'clock at night. And that's what I do sometimes with the California folks or people on the West Coast, where it's 10 o'clock my time and it's a lot earlier for them, and it tends to work out really well. So be mindful of the limited availability. If you're looking at big firms and those kinds of things, you might have closed sessions. For me, I like it more like a relationship in a friendly way, and it makes things a lot easier. Anyways, that's kind of one of the other issues. Okay, fourth kind of red flag to watch out for is unresponsive communications. When you reach out. Everybody gets busy. But the issue is that, sometimes the communication is a little bit slow. And even in my case, I get busy and I might say, hey, you know what? I'm really busy. Like today, can we chat tomorrow? As long as you kind of get a little bit of an insight, especially for one-on-one. And I'm really specifically talking about one-on-one coaching here, hyper personalized coaching. If it's somebody that's just asking or reaching out by email, just asking a quick question, that's a different story. But if I'm working with somebody, if we have already committed to working together in a relationship, all those people that I'm working with on one-on-one basis, they get put to the top of the list. I am watching for those messages. I even give them the private number and text messaging, all these kinds of things. You are in much more depth and detail than somebody else that's just writing in a quick email asking about their favorite indicator that I like to use or something to that effect. So anyways, my point is that if you get unresponsiveness, that's kind of a red flag and something to be aware of. Okay, number 5 here is a hidden cost or added pricing for every little thing. For me, I do a flat rate price. Some people you just end up spending a little more time with. Other people, a little less time with. It's just the nature of coaching, consulting, working together with people. So let's just say, for example, a consulting fee of $10,000. Okay. And if you're dealing with somebody and the fee is $10,000, well, let's say you had 3 different clients. Well, one customer you spend a little bit more time with, another person just a little bit less time with, and the other one, on average, you spent the same amount of time as you did with the other 2. So all in all, it averages out fine. But what happens is that in some cases, if you're looking for somebody like a coach or a mentor, well, you get really this number of sessions. You get 20 sessions at this amount of time. And if you go over that time, it's $5 a minute, whatever the case is. That starts to becoming more of a nickel and dime thing. For me, what I do is, hey, here's kind of the set rate. This is what I've got going on. Here's the pricing at the current time frame, or you're doing it during the holiday. It's going to be a little bit more just because my time availability is limited. And then later, as I see, okay, well, now I'm really ramped up and I got too many clients. Well, if I want to work with that person, well, if you want to work now, it's going to be a little bit higher. But if you wait another month or 2, it might be a little lower. It might be even higher. So I could give you kind of a range basket like this, but I don't nickel and dime people, because what happens then is you start working at all these little things. People just feel uneasy. At that stage, when you're working one-on-one, flat rate, it's just a lot easier to deal with. You've paid, we're working together, it's done. We don't have to deal with the billing. Let's get into the learning side of things. It just makes things a lot easier. Because at this level, when you're dealing with investments, finances, and people in the 6, 7, 8-figure businesses, they got capital to invest. They're not worried about the extra $500 here and there. Anyways, let's look at number 6 here. Number 6 is no clear plan or structure to the program. And what I find is that they'll say, well, I'll work with you based on what you want. You tell me what you want and I'll help you with that. And I find sometimes when you ask the person that's looking for coaching, they might actually not know what they want. They think they know what they want, but what they want is one thing, but what they need is actually something different. So what I typically do is work through people through a certain program. Like if they're really at a beginning stage, it might be covered calls. If it's more along the lines of like, hey, they're a little more advanced, we might run through verticals with a foundational concept. But it's kind of like an allocated number of time sessions. That way we're all in agreement. But there's a plan behind it, and what do we want to learn and get things done at the end of those few months. It might be like, hey, we're going to do like 10 trades on covered calls and 10 trades on out of the money verticals. But we have a plan, and now we know when the 10 trades are done on the covered calls and the 10 trades on the verticals are done. Now we know that, hey, we've completed our deal or contract and things are nice, clean, and easy. Okay, and the last one is going to be lack of customization to the coaching program. And I find this is an interesting one. I don't run into this often because normally when we kind of agree on something and I work with somebody and we're chatting about the plan, we already have that plan in mind. So it usually is a good fit. But there are times when a person who I'm working with and coaching is actually a bit more accelerated. They learn and pick things up faster. And when that happens, I will usually add in extra curriculum. When they're a little slower, what we do is we slow it down and focus on the core elements and make sure that they're picking up that information. And it's customized and tailored to them because this is, again, super personal, hyper personal, one-on-one. It's very oriented for that person. And if you're looking for a program and you're signing up to a program that's not customizable, meaning it's like, hey, this is what we've got and this is what you run through, it could actually end up being a little boring for you. Or it could be a little too advanced for you. And if it's too advanced, what's going to happen is you'll have anxiety and you'll miss things. And if it's super boring, you'll be bored and not picking up as much as you possibly could. You're not really gaining your full potential. So that's kind of what I would say is another big red flag and issue. So ask about the customization for that program and plan. Usually if you're doing one-on-one, it should be customizable. But some people, if you're searching and browsing programs, be aware that they're not always customizable. So something to consider. Anyways, I hope that helps. Just watch out for these different types of things. Ask some questions as needed about them. And that way you're a little bit more aware. If you're interested in getting one-on-one hyper personalized options coaching, then these are the things to kind of keep an eye out as you're browsing, researching, calling, and chatting with different folks. Anyways, thanks for joining me. Feel free to grab some freebies, by the way, on our website. The links are going to be right there in the description. Other than that, enjoy. Maybe I'll hear from you. Maybe we'll work together on some coaching things. But if not, enjoy some of the freebies and videos that I have available. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.